So today I want to talk to you a little bit about hard drives, whether they be the mechanical hard drive or an SSD, which is a solid state drive. I want to talk to you about the capacity differences. I want to talk to you about the main differences between the drives and a little bit about their costs and how they represent price to performance and price to size, and maybe help you make your best decision when purchasing one. So if you want to learn a little bit more, stick around. All right, well, we got a variety of drives in front of us, and I want to quickly go over these and hopefully drive the points home as fast as I can. All of these that right here, all of these and all of these are what they consider mechanical hard drives. Inside, these ones are a 3.5 inch, and mechanical hard drive means that they have moving parts within them, and if you drop them, they're probably not going to work afterwards. So be careful. But they have spinning platters in them with a moving arm or actuator arm that reads and writes data to the spinning platters. These ones in particular are, they vary in size. They can go anywhere between, maybe a 500 gig might be your smallest one. I don't know how small they go anymore. But they go all the way up to 22 terabytes. That's 22 terabytes. These are by far superior in capacity versus these other ones. So if you're looking for capacity, in other words, you want a lot of storage, but these are slower. So that brings us to the speed. Some of them spin at 5,400 RPM, some spin at 7,200 RPM. Some go a little faster than that, but we're not going to talk about that. Generally, 5,400 or 7,200. And they vary in speed with their components and their internal components and such. So you have these ones that will go, let's just say 160. I have this one written down. 163 for the writes and 163 for the reads. I'm saying this all backwards. Okay, let me just show you, because clearly I can't speak. So the reads are 163 and the writes are 153. So what does that mean? That means that's how fast it is. That's how fast it is for megabytes per second. So 163 on the writes, 153 on the reads, megabytes per second. If we jump to something like this has got 233 and 227. Those are the reads and the writes for this one. This one's faster than this drive. Not by much. You're not going to see a huge difference. You're barely going to see anything. Now, the same goes for these smaller ones. These smaller ones are generally for like a laptop. Those are a 2.5 inch form factor. 2.5 inch. And the next one. Now we're going to move up. So now we have SSDs, solid state drives. No moving parts. So I can drop this and it's still going to work. Now, of course, if you break it in half, it's not going to work. I mean, you could have solder, cold solder joints that might come apart or something in there, but whatever. That's not what this is about. Now, these only go up to about, I don't know if they make an 8 terabyte in these, but I know they make a 4 terabyte. But these are going to cost you more in comparison to the equivalent size in one of these. But again, these go up a lot higher in capacity, up to 22 terabyte. Only up to, I think, 4 terabyte, maybe 8. The speeds of these. So we're going from, what was that, 230 up to about 560 Maybe a little bit slower with this particular one, but 500 is about average. 500 megabytes per second. So you're already talking 3 times, well, a little less than 3 times, 2.5 times faster than the fastest mechanical hard drive that's here. Now, they have come out with a mechanical hard drive that goes a lot faster, but it's way out of anybody's budget, so we're not even going to discuss it. So, now we're going to jump up to these. These are what they consider an M.2 form factor. M.2. So, you see the difference in the connection? One's got 1 slot, the other one's got 2 slots. So, what does that mean? Not really anything. Generally, if it's got 1 slot, it is an NVMe. NVMe stands for non-volatile memory express. And it just means it's the faster of the drives. If you find yourself with one, for instance, like this one that I just showed you, it's got 2. Well, this one's an NVMe too. That means they're the same speed. Nope, not even close. Okay, this one right here, and I'll get back to that in a second. This one right here has got 2. But guess what? This one is what they consider a SATA. That one is a SATA drive. So that means it's about the same speed as this, give or take 50 megabytes per second. NVMe, it's not limitless, but a lot faster. So this NVMe one is going to probably go anywhere between, it's probably going to be right around 1,500 megabytes a second compared to 500, compared to 200, 230. I got slower ones here. This one only does about 100 megabytes a second. But, so you're going up to, from 500 all the way up to 1,700. It's probably somewhere in there. I don't know. I didn't test this one. Now, if you go up to this guy, this is a Samsung 970 Evo Plus. You're talking about 3,500. So then you're like, well, wait a minute, they're both NVMEs. Yeah, but that doesn't matter. It's just what chip they're using on there to drive the data faster. That's it. I'm not going to get into the details of that. But now we jump up to an even newer version of Samsung's. This is a 980 Pro. And that's going to be, I think, somewhere close to about 7,000 for the reads and about 5,000 for the writes. Significantly faster. Now, here's the thing. This SATA one here, this is an M.2 SATA. And you can actually see it says SATA right on the first line. See that? Where it says SATA SSD. And I will just demonstrate on this 980 Pro, maybe. Okay, right under where it says 980 Pro, it says PCIe. I'm trying to focus. Right there, NVMe, M.2 SSD. M.2 is the form factor, the connector. The NVMe is it's the speed. We're just going to consider it the speed. This one is a SATA, which means this drive, even though it's M.2, goes just as fast as that, roughly. Except you don't have to deal with cabling. This goes right on your motherboard. If your motherboard supports it, don't forget. You can't just assume that your motherboard supports that and you go and you try to plug it in. There's nowhere to plug it in. So, again, if you want capacity, go with these. It's going to cost you a lot less. These, oh, by the way, these go up to 8 terabytes to my knowledge right now. I'm sure they're working on a 16 terabyte because general rule of thumb is they're going to double the size of the SSD every time they come out with a new one. I'll bet you it's going to be at least another couple years before they really come out with a 16 terabyte. These go up to 22 terabyte. They're cheaper by the gigabyte. These are much faster, and these would be recommended if you don't have a ton of data, like terabytes and terabytes of data, and you want your machine to boot faster. I would put one of these in and then use one of these for storage. If you want even slightly faster boot time, I mean, you're talking, if you go back, you'll see I did, let's see, in the way past, a few years ago, I've done my mother's laptop, which took a minute and a half to 2 minutes to boot. Brought that down to, I think, right around 20 or 30 seconds. I did my uncle's PC, where we upgraded him from a mechanical hard drive to one of these, and his boot time was around the same. So significant difference in boot time when you're talking about one of these. Now, if you go from one of these to one of the M.2 form factor in the NVMe style, then you're talking about milliseconds different, maybe 1 or 2 seconds. It might boot faster if your motherboard supports something like that. Your motherboard will support any one of these, just not any one of these if you have an older motherboard. If you're building your own system, definitely build it with some NVMe's if you can do that, or at least one, right? One of those. Maybe make one of these your gaming storage, or for videos, pictures, and whatnot. So I hope you learned a little bit about the differences in the capacities, the speeds. You know, these are slow, fast, very fast. So, but going from here to here, sometimes there's no justification to do that, because it's just not, in your mouse clicks, you're not going to see a tremendous difference unless you're moving large files. And that's where these would really benefit in the speed. So let's wrap this up. I hope you guys learned a little bit about everything that I hoped I got across to you decent enough to where you understood it. If not, leave a comment down below and I will address it and hopefully get back to you in a reasonable time. Usually it takes me within a day to get a comment approved and to address your comment. So, with that said, I give this thing a thumbs up, and my mouth is dry right now. I've got to get a drink, so I've got to end this thing. So, give this thing a thumbs up, please, if you don't mind. Also, consider subscribing if you have not subscribed yet, and hit that little bell icon next to the subscription button. That way you can get notified for any future videos that I do post. Also, I don't know what else. I've got nothing. So I'm going to end it with that. So until next time, guys, take care.